You can cry later, Rachel. But for now, pack your things. These people are here for a tour. Those words, flat, cold, and almost bored, were the first thing Joanne said to me. Not, how are you holding up? Not, let's talk. Not even half-hearted, sorry about your loss. Just that. Like I was a squatter in my own grief. Like I was a nuisance standing between her and her next monthly deposit. The knock came exactly 36 hours after we lowered Matthew into the ground. I opened the door in my late husband's hoodie, sleeves too long, hair tied up, eyes raw from crying. Joanne stood on the front step in a sharp gray blazer and heels that didn't belong at a graveside. Her lipstick was red. Too red. Behind her were 3 strangers. A man in slacks and leather shoes. A woman in a puff vest holding a Starbucks. A teenage girl with pink hair and bored eyes. They looked past me like I was invisible. This is the unit, Joanne announced. 2 bedrooms, full bath, newly renovated kitchen. I didn't move. Didn't blink. Excuse me? I asked, voice hoarse. She gave me a tight smile. The kind people wear when they're about to lie with confidence. Rachel, you knew this was coming. The condo belongs to the family trust. You were only here while Matthew was alive. Now that he's gone, it's time to move on. You'll understand. No, I didn't understand. We lived here for 5 years. We made payments from our joint account. I handled every bill. I picked the paint for the bedroom, replaced the water heater, fought with the HOA over guest parking. This wasn't her condo. This was ours. Now, apparently, it was hers. I'm not giving anyone a tour, I said. The couple exchanged a glance. Joanne sighed. I didn't want to do this today. I really didn't. But grief doesn't pause property management. She held out a folder. Inside, a printed document, laminated tab, legal-sized paper. The words Revocable Living Trust sat at the top, like a slap in the face. Matthew transferred the title into the trust last October. I'm the trustee. I have full authority over the property. The original documents are with the attorney. You were informed. I hadn't been. She continued. You were listed as a permissive resident, which legally means you have no tenant rights, no ownership, no lease. My ears were ringing. I stepped backward into the home that was still warm with Matthew's scent. The man, the one with slacks, took a step forward and looked around. Square footage, he asked. 1,200, plus the balcony, Joanne said, without missing a beat. HA's a bit annoying, but manageable. I stared at her. You're doing this now? Rachel, she said, like I was being unreasonable again, we can't hold on to the past forever. I know you're hurting, but the mortgage isn't free. These people are offering $3,500 a month. $3,500. That's what my marriage was worth. My grief. My home. Joanne stepped inside, brushing past me. She walked into the living room like she owned it. Pointed at the crown molding. Talked about the open floor plan and natural light. I followed her with slow steps. Every nerve in my body wanted to scream, but my throat had locked. When she reached the fireplace, I finally found my voice. You had this planned. She turned, still smiling. Matthew had been sick for a long time, Rachel. It was naive to think you'd stay here forever. This isn't a charity. We paid for this together. You paid some bills. He paid the mortgage. It's all documented. I opened the closet by the door. There was still a box with his name on it. His sneakers. His old laptop bag. I grabbed it. You want me out? I said, voice low. Fine. You'll get what you want. But don't think for a second this is over. She didn't answer. She was too busy explaining to the teenage girl how she could redecorate the second bedroom as a study nook. I grabbed my purse, my keys, my phone, and walked out the door without looking back. That night, I sat in the cheapest hotel room I could find. 12 miles from the condo. Air conditioning that rattled. TV that played nothing but crime shows and reruns of infomercials. My suitcase at my feet. My life in folders. My heart in pieces. Matthew wasn't even cold in the ground. And his mother had already listed our home on Zillow. I opened my laptop. Typed one thing into the search bar. California Revocable Living Trust Fraud plus Eviction Rights. Then I opened a second tab. Contact, Maya Hill, attorney at law. And I wrote, Maya, it's Rachel. I need help. Joanne's trying to evict me with forged trust papers. I'm not crazy. I'm just not done yet. Send. If you're reading this, and someone ever tries to erase you while you're grieving, remember one thing. They're counting on your silence. Don't give it to them. By morning, the grief was no longer raw. It calcified, turned into something sharper. Anger with edges. I was sitting on the motel bed, back against a wall that smelled like disinfectant and forgotten cigarettes, staring at my phone. The screen was cracked. So was I. Joanne had locked me out of my own life. Wiped her feet on my morning, and smiled while doing it. But one thing I knew about people like her, they always underestimated quiet women. I opened the folder in my inbox, the one labeled Home Stuff, buried in subfolders. Scans, statements, transfers, notes. I started reading. The mortgage had Matthew's name on it. That part wasn't news. But I remembered clearly, painfully clearly, that when we bought the condo, he'd just come out of a rough financial patch. No credit. No cash. Just charm and a big smile. I had the down payment. $210,000 pulled from my business exit. Every cent I had. I clicked into my Wells Fargo account. Typed in the old routing number. Found the wire transfer. April 9th, 2018. Initial down payment. $210,000. Memo. Joint purchase. Joint. Not gift. Not loan. Joint. But the deed had only his name. Why? I checked the emails. Found one. From our realtor. Matthew said he wanted it kept in his name for insurance purposes. Said Rachel was fine with that. Let me know if you need documents for the trust setup. Trust? I sat up straighter. What trust? Another email. This time from a law office I didn't recognize. Attached. Trust agreement draft. Review for signatures. I clicked. It was all there. A revocable living trust dated 6 weeks before he passed. Matthew as the grantor. Joanne as the trustee. The condo listed as the primary asset. And no mention of me. None. But here's the thing. I never signed anything. I never saw this. I never agreed. I checked the signature page. My name was there. Scrawled. Sloppy. But it looked close enough to pass. And suddenly, I couldn't breathe. I called Maya. She picked up on the third ring. Ratch. My voice broke halfway through her name. He gave her everything. Pause. Who? Joanne. The condo. Through a trust. I just found the documents. I expected her to gasp. Or at least swear. But Maya was ice. Come to the office. Bring everything. Don't forward a thing. Don't reply to any emails. I want originals. If this is what I think it is, we're not just talking eviction. We're talking fraud. 2 hours later, I was sitting in Maya's office with a legal pad full of nightmares. She wore her hair pulled back tight. Glasses on. Court face. She flipped through the printed trust agreement with surgical precision. Then paused. Did you ever meet this notary? No. I never signed this. She nodded slowly. His seal is from Orange County. You were living in San Francisco at the time. She tapped the signature line with her pen. And this? That's not your hand. No. Okay. She dropped the papers on the desk like a hammer. We've got 3 things. 1. Forged signature. 2. False notary. 3. Property transfer done without spousal consent. I blinked. Wait. That's a thing. She looked at me like I was adorable and slightly tragic. Honey, this is California. Community property state. You were married. You contributed. Your name's not on the title? That doesn't mean sh*T. Not legally. Not when there's proof of contribution. I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. So I'm not crazy? Maya leaned back. No. You're pissed. And you're about to get justice. She opened a new folder on her desktop. Typed, Morgan versus Morgan Trust, preliminary filing. I watched her start building my case from nothing but a lie and a laptop. And for the first time in a week, I didn't feel powerless. I felt loaded. Later that evening, I went back through old texts. Found one from Matthew 2 years ago. He'd sent a photo of the newly installed backsplash. Looks like a magazine, babe. This is gonna be our forever place. Our forever place. Until he got sick. Until she started whispering. I remembered her voice in the hospital. You should focus on work, Rachel. I'll handle the paperwork. She handled it, all right. Right into her pocket. I opened Zillow. Typed in the address. There it was. My condo. Listed for rent. $3,500 per month. Charming upper unit 2BR/1BA with skylights, modern kitchen, and balcony garden. Pet friendly. Joanne even posted pictures, including one with my throw blanket on the couch. I wanted to scream. Instead, I hit print. Because now it was evidence. Maya called at 9:40 p.m. The county records confirm it. The deed was transferred through the trust. Recorded just 3 days before he died. And my signature? Filed as valid. But they didn't expect someone to dig. Let's give them a reason to regret that. I stared at the ceiling in the motel room, a single fly buzzing in the corner. This wasn't over. This was chapter 2. And I had just turned the page. I used to think revocable living trust sounded like something harmless. Like one of those boring estate planning tools wealthy retirees use to keep their beach house in the family. But turns out, it can be weaponized just as easily as a lie. And Joanne? She used it like a scalpel. Maya called me early that morning. No, good morning, no pleasantries. Just a clipped, urgent voice telling me to get to her office. When I walked in, she already had a whiteboard full of dates, arrows, and post-its. And right in the center was the document, the trust agreement Joanne had been waving around like it was the Holy Bible. Underneath it, in all caps marker, fraud. No small talk. No warm-up. She just pointed to a printout. This is your notary, she said. The one who supposedly witnessed your signature on the trust. I squinted at the name, not recognizing it. She moved to Belize 2 years ago, Maya went on. She gave up her license. She couldn't have notarized anything here even if she wanted to. I blinked. So, what, the stamp's fake? Completely. And whoever used it committed a felony. Multiple, actually. It was hard to process. I'd spent so much energy just trying to catch my breath after the eviction, I hadn't realized the floorboards under this whole thing were rotten. She didn't just lie, she forged. On government documents. And she thought I'd be too broken to notice. I spent the next hour in Maya's office, signing affidavits, digging through emails, pulling together whatever proof I had that this home wasn't just his, it was ours. That the $210,000 down payment didn't magically appear from thin air, it came from my account, my savings, my life. When we were finally done, Maya leaned back and asked me something that made me freeze. Do you want to press charges? At first, I didn't know what to say. It's one thing to want justice, another to walk into a courtroom and stare down your husband's mother with the intent to put her behind bars. But then I remembered the way she looked at me. Like I was an obstacle. A disposable side character in her carefully curated story. And I realized she would have done worse if she thought she could get away with it. I didn't answer right away. But I knew. Deep down I knew. That night, I got a text from an unknown number. Just a short message. Hi. I'm Eric. We just moved into the unit. You're still getting mail here. Want me to forward it? For a second, I just stared at the message. Then I replied, keep it safe. I'll come pick it up myself. I needed to see it. I needed to see with my own eyes what she had done, how easily she had erased me. The next day, I drove back to the building. My heart was pounding so loud I thought the valet could hear it. New people were moving in. A man in his 30s answered the door, polite but clearly confused about who I was. He handed me a stack of envelopes, bills, postcards, junk mail with my name on it, and said, the landlord told us the place was hers. That her son left it to her. That you moved out peacefully. I laughed. I couldn't help it. Because that was Joanne's favorite trick. She didn't just rewrite the paperwork, she rewrote the narrative. She left it to me, I said quietly, almost to myself. Back at Maya's office, I dropped the stack of mail on her desk and told her what I'd seen. The lies, the rent, the furniture, my furniture, still sitting in the living room. Maya was already typing as I talked. We'll file an emergency motion to void the trust transfer and freeze any rental income. And we'll send the tenants a formal notice of pending litigation. They won't like it. Joanne really won't like it. I sat down across from her, my legs suddenly feeling heavy. How bad is this going to get? I asked. She looked up over her glasses. That depends. How far are you willing to go? I thought about it. About how I hadn't even had time to finish grieving. About how Joanne had treated my husband's death as an opportunity to profit. About how she expected me to disappear. I'm willing to go all the way, I said. That night, I poured myself a glass of wine, stared out the motel window at nothing in particular, and Googled the criminal penalties for trust fraud in California. 3 years in prison. $10,000 per count. Restitution. Public record. Not a slap on the wrist. A permanent stain. You ever hold paperwork so thick it feels like a weapon? That's what I had when I slid that folder across Maya's desk. Dozens of pages, bank records, screenshots, emails, notarized lies, rental listings. All of it. She looked at me, dead serious. Once we file this, there's no going back. I said, good. Because I didn't want to go back. I wanted this on the record. In ink. Stamped by a judge. We filed for fraudulent transfer of property, identity theft, and unauthorized leasing of the condo. All that legalese? It means one thing. Joanne didn't just try to push me out, she did it illegally, and now I was coming for everything. And the thing about people like Joanne? They don't panic right away. They try to negotiate first. Maya got a call the very next day from her lawyer, some guy who sounded like he practiced law between rounds of golf. We're hoping this can be resolved privately. Maya didn't even blink. Your client forged a trust, stole $825,000 in real estate, and is pocketing $3,500 a month in rent that she never reported to the IRS. What part of this seems private to you? Click. By day 3, it wasn't just me and Maya involved anymore. The IRS had officially opened an investigation. Apparently, when you start collecting rental income under a fake trust and forget to mention it on your taxes, red flags go up fast. Turns out, Joanne hadn't declared a dime. Not 1 cent. She'd been pocketing everything. Rent, deposits, even cash payments from tenants under the table. And now the government was watching. Her accountant, some guy named Gary who's also her cousin, panicked and tried to amend the returns. Too late. Audit notice served. Accounts flagged. Zelle frozen. Bank of America? Locked. Joanne had no idea what hit her. Meanwhile, Maya sent out cease and desist letters to the tenants. Just a heads up that the condo was now part of a legal dispute and any rental payments should be paused until further notice. One of the tenants, Eric, the guy who texted me about my mail, emailed back. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. Joanne told us the place was hers and that you moved out after her son passed. If you want, I'll box up the rest of your things. Also, you had a candle collection on the balcony. Still smells amazing. I read that and actually cried. Not because of the candles. Because someone believed me. By the end of that week, Joanne's little investment property wasn't making money anymore. She wasn't collecting rent. She wasn't getting Venmo or Zelle. She was getting letters. Court dates. Questions. Even her HOA, which, by the way, she used to run, turned on her. They called a special board meeting. A neighbor forwarded me the agenda. Item 3. Unauthorized rental activity. Item 4. Legal options against Joanne Morgan. Apparently, even the HOA president was sick of her nonsense. But the best part? Someone left a review on her Airbnb profile. Host lied about property ownership. Currently under investigation. Avoid. Her rating dropped from 4.9 to 2. 1 in 2 days. She tried to remove the listing. Airbnb said no. Too many complaints. Oops. Maya ran the numbers. Joanne had collected over $21,000 in rental payments since forging the trust. None of it reported. All of it illegal. We filed for damages. Full restitution. Retroactive recovery. That's lawyer speak for give it all back. She responded by filing a countersuit. Of course she did. Claimed I was emotionally unstable. That I was jealous of her relationship with her son. That I made things difficult from day one. Cute. She didn't count on me having voice recordings. Or emails. Or screenshots from the day she showed up with strangers and said, "You don't live here anymore." Guess what? Now it's part of the court record. Thanks, Joanne. 3 days before our first hearing, I got a message that made me stop in my tracks. It was from Chris, Matt's old college friend. We hadn't spoken in years. "Hey, Ratch. I saw your name in the public filings. Just wanted to say, I remember what Matt said when you bought that place. He said, Rachel made this home real. I just signed the papers." That always stuck with me. I sat there with the phone in my hand for a long time. Because in the middle of all this chaos, someone remembered. Someone knew the truth. It started with a password. One I hadn't used in over a year. An old email Matt had set up when we first moved in together. He'd made it our thing: shared calendar, grocery lists, silly notes about dog breeds we'd never adopt. I was looking for a receipt. I found a paper trail. There it was. A whole folder. Titled, Property, Legal. He tucked it away under his own email account. I hadn't thought to check it before. I'd been too angry. Too focused on the forged trust. Too caught up in fighting Joanne. But now, I was past the rage. I was hunting. Inside the folder, PDFs, emails, scanned documents. Some opened, some not. And then one chain of emails between Matt and a notary named Angela Flores. Subject line, confirming Rachel's financial contribution. I froze. Opened it. From Matt. Just want to make sure this note gets filed somewhere official. Rachel put in the full down payment, $210,000. From her business account. My credit was wrecked at the time. This place wouldn't exist without her. From Angela, notary. Got it. I've attached the signed affidavit you asked for. I can notarize whenever you're ready. That was 8 months before he died. 8 months before Joanne got her claws in. My heart was in my throat. But I kept reading. Another thread, a month later. This time, to his lawyer. If anything happens to me, I want Rachel to have the condo. Full stop. I know Mom will make noise. But she has her house. She doesn't need this one. Rachel does. I sat back in my chair. It was right there. He knew she'd try something. He tried to stop it. And now I had it in writing. I forwarded everything to Maya. No subject. No notes. Just, this changes everything. She called within 15 minutes. Her voice was calm, but I could hear it, the engine starting to roar. "Rachel, this is direct intent. From the owner. Documented. Timestamped. This isn't just helpful, this crushes her narrative." We filed a motion the same day. Supplemental evidence. New affidavits. A request to freeze all financial activity tied to the trust. The judge approved it in less than 24 hours. Joanne's accounts? Frozen again. Only this time, not just for the condo. Now it extended to a second property. See, while we were busy digging, Maya did a little side project of her own. She pulled real estate transactions under Joanne's name for the last 5 years. And guess what? One of the deeds looked familiar. It was another trust. Same structure. Different name. Different fake notary. Maya raised an eyebrow and said, "You think she's done this just once?" Turns out, she had a pattern. Find vulnerable people. Get control of property through shady paperwork. Lease, sell, skim, move on. One of the houses was in her sister's name. Another? Her former friend, who, coincidentally, had suffered a stroke. The whole thing stunk. And now the DA was interested. That night, I pulled out a notebook Matt gave me for our anniversary. He never used it. Too many blank pages. Tucked inside, I found a letter. No envelope. No date. Just folded twice and slid between pages. It read, "Rachel, if I leave before I'm ready, I want you to know I never once doubted you. You've carried more than your share. This place, it's yours. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Especially her. Love you always. M." I read it 3 times. Then I cried for the first time since the courthouse. Not because I was hurt. Because I remembered who I was fighting for, not just against. 3 days later, Joanne's lawyer filed a motion to withdraw from the case. No explanation. Just done. Even her legal team didn't want to touch what was coming next. The court date was approaching. And I wasn't walking in as the victim anymore. I was walking in with his words. His proof. My truth. And that's the thing about liars like Joanne. They always think paper is just paper. But in court, paper is power. The courtroom was freezing. Not just the ASC, the whole vibe. Polished wood, old clocks, fluorescent lights buzzing like they were nervous too. I sat in the front row, Maya on my right. Hair pulled back, notes in front of her, calm as always. Across the aisle, Joanne. Her blazer was wrinkled. Her lipstick too bright, like she still thought this was some kind of performance. Behind her? No one. Not her cousin Gary, not her Pilates friend, not even her bridge club buddy from Unit 6B. They'd all disappeared the second the IRS letters started showing up. She looked at me once, quick, and then looked away. Good. The judge entered, and we stood. He was old school. Silver hair, thick glasses, the kind of man who reads every page and misses nothing. He'd spent the last week reviewing our evidence. The emails. The affidavits. Matt's note. The forged documents. The fake notary. The tax fraud. And now he was ready. Based on the evidence presented, he began, adjusting his glasses. This court finds the transfer of property via the revocable trust to be fraudulent and void. I didn't move. Not yet. But inside, something unclenched. He continued. The condo in question shall revert fully and legally to Rachel Morgan, as surviving spouse and financial contributor. Effective immediately. Still not breathing. Then came the rest. The defendant, Joanne Morgan, is ordered to pay $85,000 in restitution for illegal rental income and damages, plus cover all court costs. She is to vacate the property within 14 calendar days. Maya glanced at me and smiled, just barely. She didn't need to say it. We won. Joanne stood up. Your Honor, if I may. No, he said, without even lifting his eyes. Dismissed. It was over. Not just legally. Actually. I stepped out of the courthouse into the afternoon sun, blinking like I hadn't seen real light in months. There were reporters. Not many, but enough. Someone shoved a mic in my face. Rachel, how does it feel to take back what's yours? Another shouted. Did you know your mother-in-law was renting out the condo during your husband's illness? I just looked at them and said, calmly. She underestimated the wrong woman. That was it. Headline next morning? Mother-in-law scams widow out of her home and loses everything. The article ran with a picture of me walking down the courthouse steps, Maya beside me, sunglasses on like we were headed to brunch. They quoted my affidavit. They quoted Matt's email. Rachel should have the condo. She earned it. Public sympathy exploded. Reddit threads. Twitter hashtags. TikTok lawyers breaking it down in 60-second explainers. Hashtag trust fraud. Hashtag justice for Rachel. Some woman DM'd me. I was about to sign a power of attorney for my fiancé's mom. You saved me. I just wrote back. Read everything. Twice. Joanne, meanwhile, went silent. Her accounts were frozen. Her Airbnb removed. Her HOA membership revoked. And she had exactly 2 weeks to pack up and get out. Maya sent the sheriff's notice the same afternoon. 14 days. No extensions. Later that night, I went back to the motel where this all started. Not because I had to, just to feel the full circle. Same flickering hallway light. Same vending machine still out of Diet Coke. I stood in the parking lot and looked up at the sky. For the first time in months, I didn't feel like someone was standing on my chest. I felt free.